Okay, questions? Yes. Yes. Instance of, no. So the question was, is instance of covered by the programming test? No. I can tell you straight no. You know, how about this? I would say for the upcoming programming test, inheritance might be covered, but only to the extent about the programming part. So of course, if you're not so clear about instance of or cast, or about whether something compiles or not, that's not so much of the concern for now. As long as you can complete the exercise question I gave to you, you know, the student management system, that one there. If you can do it, you should be okay for the programming test. Of course, make sure you complete both. But for the written test, yes, you do need the instance of, yeah. But you got some time to study. Or you can ask me next week. That's fine. Yes?
So in terms of the inheritance, more like creating things like...
Yeah, for example, you have to create a superclass called students and create a subclass called resident students and non-resident students. For the programming test, of course, make sure if you were given something like this, for example, right? If, let's say in the JUnit test that you were given, let's say if you were given something like this, I say a test over here, and then public void test. Okay? Let's say, for example, I'll make it symbolic. Okay? If I say A objects is assigned to new B. Okay, let's say you're given this line. In the beginning, of course, you got underline over here. You also got underline over here, right? That means these two classes do not exist. Okay? Apparently, applying what you already knew from lab test 1. What you would do for sure is to say, I'm going to create a class called A. And then maybe leave it empty to begin with. Okay? And also, I got a class B. And then I'll do it as well. However, is it going to solve it? If you only do that, let's say, you create an empty class called A, you create an empty class called B. If you believe I already cover A here, I cover B here, would it make it satisfied? If you think no, why not? Okay, that's something you should know. Okay? At the moment, you can see A and B, do they have anything to do with each other? They don't, right? Because they are simply separate classes. It's as if you try to assign string into person, or try to assign maybe account into person. So they have nothing to do with each other. So now, so that means there's some inheritance going on over here, right? So that's why we keep talking about, in order for this particular assignment to make sense, what should I do? Should I say A extends B, or should I say B extends A? Okay, now think about what we said in the lecture, right? That's something you should know. In order for this particular assignment to be valid, B should be able to fulfill all the expectations on A. So that means B should be somehow lower in the hierarchy than A, for example, right? Like that. Okay, that's what you should do. So in order to fix it, you'll say extends A. Okay, yeah, that's an easy application. Okay. Of course, you should make sure you know how to use extends. Make sure how to use super, right? You might use it, right? Okay, next one, please. But you know, it's okay. It's completely fine if you don't have many questions today. We can have even maybe longer session next week. That's fine. But anyway, if you got a question, go ahead. You mean just the difference, right? The whole difference. Okay. Rather than going over all the slides, which might take more than 3 hours, right? Okay. How about this? When you talk about aggregation, you're basically talking about you actually allow sharing. Okay? Which means aliasing is possible. And when I say aliasing is possible, that means I may have two variables storing the address of the same object, right? Okay. You might have v1 and v2. They simply point to the same object conceptually, right? That's aliasing. Okay. On the other hand, when you talk about composition, I'll give you one simple example. If you talk about composition over here, so that means sharing is not allowed. Okay, which means aliasing is absent, just not there. That's a very quick summary of the two, right? Let's do a very simple example. Of course, when you actually want to go over in details for aggregation, you have to go over the like a student example that we talked about. Yeah, like a faculty, students, a course example. There are lots of sharing over there you can go over. For composition, you can also go over the directory example that we went over, right? Especially how you implement a copy constructor, okay? Oh, by the way, when we talk about copy constructor can be useful for both aggregation and composition. I'll give you an example, okay? Let's do that quickly. Let's say this. Let's do a simple example. Let's say, actually, something not so simple. How about that? We can have an array. Let's say we have a class over here called person. Person over here, let's say, class integer age. Let's say a very simple class over here, okay? Let's say we don't have name. I want to make it very easy. So the only attributes you have is integer age. That's a primitive type. Okay, that's the first class. And then I'm going to make a second class over there, two versions. And I'm going to illustrate to you what aggregation will look like and how composition will look like. How about that? The same class. Okay. Let's say we have a class called PersonCollector. Okay. Okay, PersonCollector over here. Okay, and then again you can have maybe a person array. Let's say PS for persons, right? And then you have integer over here. Let's say number of persons. Okay, very easy. Okay, and then you have your PersonCollector over here. By the way, even though I'm trying to use write an iPad, so I'll encourage you to translate this code into Java. I'm almost confident whatever you type over there verbatim it should compile. There may be some different, some additional stuff you gotta put, but hopefully it's fine. Okay, PersonCollector over here. Okay, what should we do? We should initialize the array and the counter, right? So you might say this dot ps is assigned to new person array. Let's say 10. And then you can say, this is not necessary, but you can say this NOP is assigned to 0. That's basically what you did back in lab test 1, okay? We haven't talked about aggregation composition just yet, but we will. Okay? And then let's do a little bit more. Okay. Let me just do one more method here. Let's say I have over here add person. Void, and then I can say I have person p, and then I have this dot ps add position number of person, right? The counter, right? Exactly here is assigned to p, and then I can say this dot nop plus plus. Okay, okay, that's the second method. Okay. I think that's enough for us to begin with, okay? So now let's say this. If we talk about aggregation, so that means we can somehow build a collector where the persons might be shared among different collectors. This is basically what we're saying, okay? Let's say this. If I say, let's say PersonCollector, let me try to write some code to test, okay? The blue one is going to be a tester code you can write. So I can say PersonCollector let's say PC1 is new PersonCollector. Would I be able to just copy this? Good. Okay, I'm going to get PC2. Okay, 2 PersonCollectors, right? Okay. So now, if I simply say person over here, let's say P1 is new person. Okay, let me just update this a little bit. Okay, let me update this a little bit. Let's say I want to pass 23. That means the person I'm creating has the age 23. So what I would do is I'm going to extend the person class a little bit to say you have the person constructor over here, and then integer age. Okay, you're going to say this dot age is assigned to age. Okay, like that. Okay, so now if I have PC1 dot add person, P1, and then I have PC2 dot add person, P2. Let's say we start with this. Okay. Is there any sharing or aliasing going on here? I heard yet? Okay. Can you tell me precisely where? Oh, just before you say, I did make a typo. I beg pardon. Before you say, sorry. Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. What I meant to say over here is P1. Okay, there's no P2. Sorry, I just noticed that. Yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So both PC2 and PC1 will, the first index of both of them will point to
the same person objects. Mm-hmm. Exactly right. Okay. Before I visualize this quickly for you, okay, what I would say is to make your what you said precisely. If you try to evaluate the following Boolean condition, you say PC1 dot PS, which is an array, at position 0, okay, equals PC2 dot PS at position 1. Should that be true? Yeah, exactly. Because basically, when you try to call add person P1 over here, call by value is going to make a copy of the address of P1, right? And then over there, the context object is basically PC1. So what you end up doing over here is you're going to say PC1 the PS at position 0 is assigned to a copy of the address of P1, right? Okay, I'll just put P1 conceptually. That's basically what you're doing. And then, similarly, when you try to execute this method call over here, so now you're calling the same add person. Oh, you're right. Maybe that's why you were raising your hand. Sorry about that. Okay. I pointed to the wrong place. Let me do it again. Sorry. Let me erase that. Okay. Let me say it again. So when you try to execute this particular method call, we're calling add person. Okay. Over here. So now the context object over here is PC1. And then the argument over here, called by value, is going to be a copy of P1. I'll just put P1. Okay. So what we end up having is PC1.PS at position 0 to begin with is assigned to P1. Number 1. Okay. And then when we try to execute this guy here, when you say PC2 add person and then also P1, right? What you're doing over here is PC1 or PC2 PS at position 1, because now the context object should now be PC2. I should use a different color. Should be 0, yes. That's 0. Okay. If you think about what's happening here, let me draw a little bit diagram. PC1 has been pointing to a particular object of type point collector, where we simply got number of points initially is 0, and also PS is pointing to an array of 0, 1, all the way to 9. Okay, and similar structure for PC2. Okay, so now it's going to be PC2. Good, that's how we start with. Okay. So now, when we execute this particular method call over here, we're going to do PC1.ps at position 0 is a P1. Okay, P1, let's say, is here. P1 is now pointing to a person objects. And then, if you recall what we said, person objects is 23. Right? So we got 23 over here. Okay, again, so when you execute this line here, okay, PC1.ps position 0 is P1. So that means at this particular position, it's going to assign to P1, number 1. Okay, and then when you execute the second line over here, PC2, and then add person, and then P1. So now the context object is now PC2, and this is going to be PC2. So what we're executing is PC2, and what should be the index? 0. Okay, that's why I made the mistake. Okay, should be 0, yes. And 0 over here should be assigned also to P1. Again, aliasing, right? This scenario, we have seen that many times. So now that should also point to this person over here. So that's why this particular expression over here will evaluate to true. Okay, are we okay so far? That's one example where aggregation allows. Okay, so now a simple question for you. How can we change the add person so that we're going to turn into some like a composition, so we don't allow any sharing? How do we modify the add person? Let's talk about add person. And copy constructor is something very similar. Okay. Any suggestion? Before you make any suggestion, what's the insight into this issue over here? The main reason for this being aggregation is because the way you try to handle the parameter person over here is by simply copying its address. That's a problem, because copying address simply referring to just pointing to the same object over here, just aliasing. Okay, that should not be the case. How can we change our add person so that it's not going to do that? Sure, conceptually yes. You want to somehow, rather than using P1 directly, you want to create like a copy of P1 with the same age, maybe? Okay, can you suggest me what to write? Okay, so now what we want to do, I'll just, okay, so when you're watching the recording, basically everything else stay the same. Okay, the only thing I'm going to change will be the definition for add person. That's the only thing we're going to change. Okay, I'll start a fresh page. So now let's talk about add person. Add person in the person collector. And then we simply get person and P. Let me put the old version over here, right? It will simply say PS, this.ps. Add position number of persons is assigned to P. And then we say this.nop is assigned to, plus plus. So now how should we change this? And then we'll trace the program as well. What should I change? You want to suggest something? Just suggest exactly what I should write. Wow, you want to work out the exact syntax? Or just suggest something, right? We can. Okay, let me write it. Okay, so you're suggesting that. How about this? This guy should not work anymore. So what about just wipe it out? Okay, tell me exactly what to write. So what should be the name? Just call new person? That's okay. Yeah, exactly. New person. Equals new person. Like that? Would that compile? First of all, would it compile? Because the constructor we have over here is expecting an age. So it's not default constructor anymore, okay? So what should I put over here? Should I put 0? Should I put 1? Should I put 2? What should I put? P.age, exactly, right? So now, of course, in this case, it's simple because there's only one attribute there. In a slightly more complicated case, you gotta initialize every attribute properly, right? That's what a copy constructor can be useful. So what I would do over here is I can say P.age. Okay, what else? Yeah, this the PS at position NOP is assigned to? You mean this guy here, right? So because now new person is guaranteed to be a completely brand new object over here, right? Very good, very good. Perfect. Yeah, so when you did the exercise, when you look at the solution, that's exactly what we are doing over here. So when we talk about composition, the idea is you want to forbid sharing. You don't want to allow any aliasing to happen. How do you do that? You want to make sure whenever there's a possibility of copying the address, you don't want to do that. Make a copy of the object first before you copy the address. So now, let's trace very quickly, okay? What's going to happen over here is, again, let's say we have still our PersonCollector over here, okay? You know, I'm just being lazy. I will copy this diagram over here, and then I'll redraw it a little bit. Okay, by the way, so I'm going to make a note over here, okay? So this guy here is aggregation. In the sense that there's a sharing, right? Over here you can see sharing over here and sharing the same objects, right? So now if I try to change that a little bit, okay? What I would do is I'm going to wipe out this guy here, okay? Okay, let me just fix them a little bit quickly. So we still have this guy here, 0, 1, and also 0, 1. And also, I don't want this distraction over here. Okay, that's how we start with. So now let's try that. Assuming that we got P1 already, okay? Just assuming that, okay? So now if I say the following. If I say PC1 dot add person, and then I say P1. I say PC2 dot add person. And then I say P2. Oh, sorry, P1, sorry. Keep saying P2. P1 over here. And then remember the check we did previously. We checked to see P1.PS0, P2.PS0, 1. Again, this should be 0. Okay, good. Let's do the same check, exactly the same check, to see if that will return the same result. So our right here is PC1.PS at position 0 equals PC2.PS at position 0. Should now be true or false. False, okay? That's what you would expect to see, but let's see why, okay? First of all, it's going to be false. That's exactly why, okay? So now when you execute this line here, let's start with this. PC1, add person, P1. Okay, let me just switch back. So that's a fixed version we have, right? So now that means this is actually PC1. And then the P over here is P1. Okay, so let me go back here. So now this guy here is P1. And now what are we doing? Are we trying to copy the address of P1? Not really, right? Because of the extra line that we just did. What this will do, first of all, is going to create a new person. And the new person is going to have exactly the same age. Okay? So now let's see this. I'll draw that here. You can think about there's a new person over here, which points to some person objects. And the age would just be the same as P1, 23 over here, right? And the rest of the method would just be the same. The rest of the method would just be, so now we'll say PC1 dot PS and then NOP is assigned to new person. Okay? So now what would I do? So that means at 0 position of the PC1's PS over here is going to point to the new person over here. Right? Guys? Please. Thank you. Okay. Is it okay so far? Okay? We're pointing to the new object, right? So you can see nothing to do with P1. P1 is not being shared. Okay. And then let's do the next one, okay, quickly. So now when we do PC2, add person, and then P1, right? Basically, we're calling this the second time. So now that this will just be PC2. Again, we're creating another new person, the first line, right? And that person is going to have the same age. You can think about, don't get confused about two different objects have the same name, because we're within the scope of a method. After the termination of the first calling, new person will be garbage collected somehow, so you don't have to worry. Conceptually, it's okay. Okay? You can think about this another new person over here, and then it's simply pointing to this particular person over here, right? And then we say that it's going to be with p.age, right? So that's going to be 23. So now, when we do this particular assignment, it will be PC2, that's a context objects, dot PS at position NOP is assigned to the new person that we're talking about right now. So what that will do is, you can see now, this particular position for PC2.ps is now going to point to, okay, maybe this way is better. It's now going to point to here. So now, if you think about what's happening here, when you evaluate this expression over here, PC1.ps at position 0, PC1.ps at position 0 is referring to this particular object over here. Whereas PC2.ps at position 0, PC2, PS position 0 is now referring to these objects. They are different objects, so now we don't have sharing. Okay, just a very simple example to tell you. Okay, so the first exercise you were given for the programming test, that one I got two packages. One is called aggregation, the other one called composition. You're basically doing this kind of thing. In the case of aggregation, you will see in the JUnit test, you just have to allow sharing to the maximum extent, as you go extreme. And then in the case of composition, you want to disallow any sharing. So that means any time when the parameter type is actually a reference type, you have to make sure you don't copy the address directly. You want to make a new object based on the past objects, right? Okay. Anyway, that's a long answer to your question. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, next one, please. Yes.
Give us an example of copy constructor that elaborate on that, like how does it work?
Copy constructor? Uh-huh.
I went over the slides.
Mm-hmm.
There was a concept called copy constructor.
Yes.
So, like, what value does should we pass to?
Oh, copy constructor. Okay, just in general, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Copy constructor apparently is a constructor, first of all, right? Okay. It copies something. Again, let's say class PersonCollector. Okay, and then let me just set up the context quickly. Again, we got person, assume we got the same person class. PS over here, and then we got integer number of person over here, and then let's define a constructor. The constructor we had previously simply takes no parameter, empty. Let's have a different version of constructor. Okay. Let's say we have a PersonCollector. First of all, it's a constructor. It will be a copy constructor if there's only a single parameter with the same type. Okay. PersonCollector other. I'll just say it for now. Are we okay so far? Okay. First of all, it is a constructor, has the same name as class. It will be a copy constructor because you're passing the parameter other of the same type as the current class. Okay. So now, how you should implement it depends on whether you want sharing to be allowed or forbidden. Okay. Let me give a very quick version. Okay. We know that PS is simply going to store a list of person, right? So one possibility would be you can say this dot NOP is assigned to other dot NOP. First of all, make sure the size of the number of person will be copied over, right? Basically, you want to duplicate the other that's being passed. Okay. Oh, we'll trace the code in just a moment. And what after that, we can run a loop. How should I go over the list of persons? Integer I is assigned to 0. Okay. What I'm more interested is I less than ps.length. Okay, no, right? Because for this particular pattern here, you only go up to NOP. If you go beyond that, you may have null points, null pointers, right? Be careful. That's what we keep emphasizing. Yeah. Okay, and then you're going to say this dot NOP, and then I plus plus. Okay, so now what you put over here is important. Okay, let me tell you the version where it's going to be allow sharing. Okay, basically whenever you allow sharing, that means you allow copying the address around. Okay, so what I would do over here is I'll do this. I would say this dot ps at position I is assigned to other dot ps at position I. Okay, that's the one. That's version number 1. Would that allow sharing? Intuitively, it would, because we are just copying address. But exactly how are we really sharing? Exactly, right? Oh, before I do something over here, I want to also initialize the array. That's something I forget, okay? One thing for you to try. If you simply type this verbatim, the blue one, what I'm talking about up to now, you're going to get a null pointer exception, simply because this .ps has not been created just yet. Okay, I'm going to do that. Okay, so what I forgot to do was this. I gotta say this dot ps is assigned to new person. So now, what should be the size of the array here? NOP? What's going to happen if I say NOP here? It depends on the NOP value for other, right? Because it's being assigned to other than NOP. If other than NOP is simply 5, then it will be 5. If other than NOP is 0, then that's 0. But is other than NOP really the size of the array that you want to get? Remember conceptually for this particular pattern here, again, let's say this. If this is the array, PersonCollector, right? If I got NOP, let's be in 3, for example, that means 3 persons have been stored so far, okay? And then we got persons array, which is now pointing to a person. But now the maximum size of the array is a different concept than how many persons you have stored. It's a different concept, right? So now, for example, 0 here, 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here, all the way to, for example, up to, let's say, 100 person, okay? They're different concept. If NOP simply means 3, that means the next person to be stored should be at position 3 because it's available. So now, starting from here, it's simply just null throughout. And then there should be some object of type person over here, some object of type person over here, and also some object of type person over here. Okay? That's basically what it means, according to our pattern. Right? Are we okay with this? So the point is, at this point over here, if you talk about NOP is simply 3. If you say ps.length, it's always 100. Okay? So now we are basically asking, when I'm trying to do the copy constructor over here, what should be the size of the array? Right? Not really about how many points I have or how many persons I have, right? Think about it. It should be other dot ps dot length. Okay, so after this, we can run this loop. Any question until now? That's basically the pattern that we learned in lab test 1, right? If you haven't done well in lab test 1, I hope you have caught up already, right? I hope. Right? Any questions over here? We okay? Okay, no questions? So now, how do we trace the code over here? That's the question. Okay, let's do it very quickly. Okay. Let's say, for example, the trace I will do is like this. Let's say PersonCollector. I'll just say PC. Okay, PersonCollector. PC1 is new person. New PersonCollector. Okay, the consequence of this is we're going to have PC1 is now going to point to a PersonCollector objects. And then we got our NOP, and also we got our PS. Initially, NOP is 0. Let's say we store up to 10 person. 0, 1, all the way to 9. Okay, that's the first line. And then, let's say we try to add something into it. PC1 dot add person. We learned about anonymous object before, right? Let me use that. New person. 23, for example. And also PC1 dot add person. And then I'll say new person, let's say 46. So what would I do? What that would do is, after this particular line, it's going to add a person over here with the age 23. Right? After this line over here, it's going to add a person over here, and that's going to be 46. All right? So now, how do we call the copy constructor? Right? That's a question. What if I say PersonCollector PC2 is assigned to new PersonCollector, but now this time I'm going to pass PC1. Okay? I'm calling a different version of the constructor, first of all. Okay? So now it's going to call this particular version of the copy constructor. And we want to know exactly what's going to happen, right? We have to execute this line by line, okay? I'll give you a quick overview, okay? What it will do is, it's going to somehow, for PC2, you can think about this over here is PC2. That's the object that's being manipulated, okay? So PC2.NOP is going to be, you can think about that this is going to be PC2. And other is going to be PC1. Why? How do I know it? Because PC2 is the current object that's being created. And PC1 is the arguments, right? That's why I said this will be PC2, okay? This versus other, okay? And then what I will do is I'll copy whatever PC1.NOP is, in this case 2, into PC2.NOP, number 1. And then after initializing the array of PC2 being the same size of the array for PC1, I'm going to run a loop. And then I simply say whatever that's in position 0, for example, for other.ps 0, copy that over. Okay? So I'm only copying the address over here. Okay? Let's see exactly. Okay? Of course, you got to go over the code to study that a little bit. Let's see very quickly. What this will do is, number 1, it's going to create a new object called PC2 over here. And then it's going to get PersonCollector over here. We'll copy one by one. First of all, we copy NOP. Oh, I forgot. There's one thing I forgot to update. Apparently for PC1, after adding 2 persons over here, we should get 2 over here, right? Okay, just make sure. Okay. And then what we will get is over here, we're going to copy over 2 into here. So that'll be 2. That's the first thing to copy. And then we're going to initialize the array to be the same size. Okay? So now we're going to say PS for PC2 is going to be an array over here. What should be the size over here? Should it be 2? 10, exactly. Because size of the array is 10. Good. 0, 1, all the way to 9. Okay, be careful. Now, let's think about how we are going to run the loop over here. How many, oh, go too far. How many times we run a loop depends on what this NOP is. This NOP has been copied over, so it's now 2, right? So we're going to run 2 iterations, okay? So this line over here, I'm going to just illustrate to you, okay? I'm going to copy that over. So this line over here, this.psi equals other.psi, okay? That's the line I'm going to analyze for you, okay? I'll write it down here. It's going to be this.psi is assigned to other.psi. Okay, that's a line I'm trying to trace for you. And then think about over here, PC2 is actually the context object, right? So this is PC2. And PC1 is the argument, so other is PC1. Okay, make sure you're okay with that. For the very first iteration, I would be 0. So we're basically talking about PC2.ps at position 0. So PC2.ps at position 0. It should be copied over, it should be copied what address? PC1.ps at position 0. PC1.ps at position 0 is pointing to this particular object. Copy that address over, right? So what we will get is basically like this. Position 0 is here. So now it's going to refer to the same objects. That's a copy, right? So now do we have sharing? We do. Exactly. Good. Okay. Let's do the second iteration quickly, and then I will suggest something. Let's say over here we do another one. Let's say 1 and 1. That's second iteration, right? I becomes 1. So what I will do is copy basically the address of this position 1 person into this particular position, right? So what you will get is, so now this is also referring to this object here. So now why do we have aliasing? Precisely. PC1.ps at position 0 equals PC2.ps at position 0. So this will be true because we're talking about this object specifically. Okay? Let's do one more to be complete. And then when you say PC1.ps at position 1 equals PC2.ps at position 1, would that be true as well? Yes, because we are talking about the same object over here. Okay, that's sharing. So now that means this particular copy constructor here will work, that will work for aggregation purpose. How can we turn that into a working version of copy constructor that works for composition? Which means we want to forbid sharing. Any suggestion? Or let me go line by line. When I say this.nop other than nop, should this be changed? No, because nop is integer. So you don't have to worry about aliasing for integer, primitive type. And this part here is only creating a new array of the correct size. We don't have to worry about either. How about a loop header? Do we have to worry about it? Not really. They talk about which position to copy. Should we worry about this line? Yeah, exactly. What should we do? Apparently, we should not just copy the address. Somehow, we have to make a new person out of other.psi and then assign the address of that person to this.psi. That's what we should do. Okay? So there are 2 possible ways you can do it. I'll show you both. Okay? There are 2 ways. The less ideal way is to write the copy right here. The less ideal way is like this. Okay? So now this works. Okay, this works for aggregation. Okay, not a problem. Okay, works for sharing. What I want to do is to give you a different version over here. Okay, this is I want to give you version 2. Just for this line. Okay. I can say pretty much like what you suggested previously. Okay, you say person, let me say new person, MP, okay, is assigned to new person. And then, any suggestion what I should put here? Can I just put empty? Can I do that? No, because constructor for person expecting an age, right? So now, what should I do here? Can I say order.age? Order.age doesn't make sense. Do you see what I mean? If I simply say, I'll write it down, I'm going to wipe it out. If I say order.age over here, it wouldn't compile. Because order is actually a person collector. Person collector doesn't have age. Okay, first of all. So now, what should I write instead? Anybody? Yes?
So actually for the for loop, do you say like this dot ps5 equals new person and then put other dot ps?
Yeah, you're basically talking about without an intermediate variable, right? Yeah, that's okay. Let me finish this version first, and then we'll get there. Yeah. So now, what should I put to put a new person? Any suggestion? How can I get an age to copy over? If I say this.age, is that right? Aha, very good. Okay, I'll get to what you just suggested in a moment. Okay, that's exactly right. Very good. Okay, what you will say is, sorry, I'm running out of space. I'll put it here. You will say other dot ps position I, which is guaranteed to be a person dot age. Okay. One more line. You will simply say. Sorry, again, I'm running out of space. I'll put it here. Okay. So you can say now this the ps at position I is assigned to new person. It's guaranteed to be a brand new person object with the correct age, right? How can we simplify this? Okay, I'll give you another version, even though that's not something I planned. But since you suggested, I'll just show you that version. That's good. Simplification is nice. Okay. What I can do instead, okay? Again, I'm going to show you version 3, okay? Version 3, I can simply say this dot ps new person, okay? Oops, a little bit too much. And then I can say other dot ps at position I. This make sense? What this is doing is basically we're saying creating this new person object here without any name, and then copy its address to position I of this dot ps. That also works, no problem. Although that's not the ideal version I'm hoping for. That's okay. I'm going to show you that. Okay. Question?
There should be a dot age at the end.
Oh, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. By the way, later on, you see, in the beginning of the semester, I show you a link on the slides. There's an interview by Google, like a mock-up interview. When they ask you to code at some stage, you don't necessarily code in front of a computer. You have to code on the whiteboard. So you don't really want to have a program that simply doesn't even compile, if you see what I mean, right? So that's why this is a nice exercise to write code on the paper and make sure it has some reasonable type correctness. Of course, I can also make a mistake. Thanks for picking that up. Okay, of course, I can say dot h. Absolutely. Okay. What about version number 4? Okay, version number 4. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of context over here. When I talk about equals method, if I want to define the equals method for person collector, so two person collectors are equal if the person at position 0 are the same, are equal between the two person collector, and the person at position 1 of the two collector are also equal. So now this relies on the definition of the equals method of person. Okay, so now we're doing something similar. In order for me to define the copy constructor for person collector, I can rely on the copy constructor of person. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is, I'll write down something first, and then we'll make it compile. Okay? We'll say this dot ps I is new person. And then I'm going to say other dot ps I. This is what I would say. That's the ideal solution. It might be forced by the JUnit test anyway, so but I'm just saying this is more ideal. Can you tell me something? Okay, that's something I want to tell you first. Tell me first. Look at the constructor call here and here. Are they calling the same version of constructor? Yes? No? If you say no, why not?
The first one passes integer, the second one passes person.
Exactly, right? The type is different, right? The first one is talking about an integer, which is h. And the second one is referring to other.psi, which is a person, right? You basically talk about two versions of constructor. One is taking person. That's why I copy constructor for person. The other one is just a normal constructor, okay? So now I'm hoping that calling this copy constructor in the person is going to give me just the same person, but a different copy, okay? So now, how would this work, okay? In order to do this, that will require some extension to the person class, okay? I'm going to do it here. So if you say class person over here, okay? So what should I do over here? Help me out with the decoration. Person? How about here? Person again. Good. Let me say P, okay? Okay, what should I do? Let me remind you, there's an attribute in person called age. Okay, just to remind you. Yes? Yep, this.h equals p.h. If you think about it, when you say this.h equals p.h, it's pretty much similar to what you're doing here. Similar, okay? Just for information. This.h is assigned to p.h. Okay, that's what you would do as person, of course. Okay, so this version 4 should also work. So, and I would say that's more ideal, because in that way, you are just relying on the copy constructors on different classes, right? Whenever you need it, you call them. Okay. All right. I hope that answered your question about copy constructor, right? Good. Any more questions? Yes.
Another version use add person in constructor, or
Have another version using add person.
in constructor, for example, in version 2.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Good. Let's do version 5, okay? Yeah. Okay, we are still building the same code, right? We're just changing different version. That's nice, okay? I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Version 5. Again, let me just declare that a little bit more, okay? So we talk about a person collector copy constructor. Let's say other. I'm read it out completely. Okay, you would say this dot number of persons equals other dot number of person, right? Also, you would say this dot persons array is assigned to new person. The size should be other dot ps dot, I'll say length, okay? Just don't have space. All right, so now let's see, okay? We're gonna run the loop still. The loop header stay the same. For integer I is assigned to 0, I less than this.nop, I plus plus, okay? And then I can have a single line solution. However, there will be some assumption I'm making about, I'll address that, okay? What you can say over here is, you can say this dot add person. I'll talk about it, okay? Add person over here. What if I only say other dot ps at position I? The only thing that's new, which is version 5, is the green one. I'm basically calling a helper method add person, right? And then I say, I just want to add this person into the current person collector. Is this going to work for composition? I would say it depends on how you define add person. Let me give you one version of add person. Okay? How you define that is really important. Okay? Let's say in the same class, okay, we have add person. Person P. What about this version over here? If I only say this dot PS at position NOP is assigned to P. This dot NOP plus plus. What if my add person was defined this way? Am I going to achieve composition? Apparently not, right? Because even though your intention is to call the helper method, but the helper method doesn't really support composition. The main idea is, over here, you can see, it's still copying the address, right? Okay. However, if you fix the add person, it will work. Okay. How do we fix it? Similar to what we just said. I'll give you one possibility, right? So now, let's say this line is not good. What I would say is, let me put it here, okay? You can say this dot PS NOP is assigned to, for example, new person. We call the copy constructor of person, okay? Now it will be okay. Actually, this one, we will definitely see this in the practice question I gave to you, right? I'm just making it a little bit simpler. Okay. Good. Okay, anything else? All right. Of course, if you're still bothered by manipulating an array or having trouble with aliasing, I think, yeah, you definitely want to catch up, okay? I really don't want you to graduate from this course without knowing that kind of stuff, right? You're gonna struggle quite a bit, in 2011. I don't want to. Okay? And later on, when you see me in 3311, very likely, I guess, then I don't want you to struggle with that kind of basic stuff. Guys, any questions, please? Okay. We don't have to stay until 6. We don't have to. If you're okay, then we are fine. I might expect more questions next week, right, about inheritance. Okay, I guess you need time to study that. Yeah. But I would suggest don't wait until Thursday night to study that, to ask me a question. You really want to study earlier. Okay. Inheritance. Yes.
So for a program test, inheritance is just going to be you expect us to make a superclass and then take a bunch of subclasses and then just extend.
Yes. I would say yes, that's true. So what I expect you to do for the programming test is at least, well, more or less, how about that? More or less what you are expected to do for the exercise number 2. Because exercise number 2 is about, how to use inheritance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, for aggregation composition, of course, that's going to be covered, which we just talked about, in the past hour. Yeah. All right? Yes? Oh, good question. I forgot exactly how I set it up. Either it would be very explicit in the packages, like in your practice test, or it would be very explicit in the instruction. To say, for example, if I talk about person 1, you should really implement for aggregation. And for person 2, you should implement for composition. I'll be very clear. Either in the PDF or in the code itself. It'll be very obvious to you. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Guys, are you okay? All right, you guys are always silent, right? I assume silence means good, right? Or the other way, I don't know. Okay, if no question, should I call it a day? If you got questions, I'm willing to stay. I'm just wondering if you got questions, right? All right, so I will see you next Friday. Okay, don't forget, there's no class on Monday and Wednesday. I won't be here. Okay, but we're gonna have the makeup class next Friday as well. Sorry, say it again. The next Friday, yes, the same time. Yes, I'll remind you.